Hello family, I hope you guys are doing good. I am too. So I'm actually doing a video related to this is my reaction from a gentleman. He's from a Greek descendant. He has a YouTube channel, so he talks about so-called ancient history, in which he has little or no knowledge about. And the other day I was following one of his videos. He was talking about the ancient Egyptian. According to him, the ancient Egyptian, according to him, were multicultural. To say that they were not all black people or authentic African. So he was showing a bunch of evidence to fit his narrative. Clearly, those evidence was carefully selected so he could find himself on the right side of what he was telling us. And as somebody who knows ancient African history, it really hurt me that day when I was watching that video. I said, how long these people are going to snatch the credit of our greatest accomplishment in history and throw it to people who were not there to begin with. And this is a response to that video. Excuse the noise because I'm shooting it while traveling. I'm on the highway, so you're gonna be hearing a little bit of background noise, the road noise, and there is an Sound of African song also playing in the background, which I selected myself. So first of all, I would like to say, for a fact, all ancient Egyptian were black African, and the word Egypt is not even an African word, it's a Greek word. Egyptians themselves did not call themselves Egyptian. They refer to themselves as Kemetic, or the land we know today as Egypt was known as Kemet. And that gentleman said that the word Kemet refers to the land, the black land of Egypt. Well, that's another lie they tell the world today, because they want to fit the narrative of the European. Since the introduction of racism, they have bashed the African, telling the world that the African is inferior, the African is this and that, the African derived from the monkey, the African is stupid, the African is a slave. So all these qualification that they label the African have pushed them to view African as inferior to them, when in fact the credit of the speech, the writing, the civilization, and everything known to humanity is to the African. And during this video, I'm going to explain you everything. And it's gonna be a bit long, so because I have a lot to cover. And this is a draft I'm gonna post but in the long run, I will have to do an official video where I'm gonna present the pictures and all other evidence. But today I would advise you guys, after you watch this video, do your own research, because until the African tells his own story, all this European with dark and crooked agenda will always get away with lies about Africa, about us, about who we are. I'm very proud when I'm talking about Africa and African, because I know who we are. And these people who shot these videos, or shoot these videos, bashing the African, calling African names, doing this and that, they know who we are. And that's the reason why they hate us so much. And that's the reason why they come with all these nonsense video trying to bash the African and our accomplishment in the history of humanity. So the gentlemen say that the word Kemet refers to the land, like the black land of Egypt, like the soil of the Nile. You know, what a lie, because Kemet derives from the word Kem or Kam, like K-E-M or K-A-M. Kem or Kam, which is an African original name that means dark, black, burnt. And the word Kamata or Kemet means black, and it's referred to the people dwelling in that part of the land of Africa. It was originally known, Kemet was originally known as the land of the black. But all the Egyptologists, modern Egyptologists, who are the majority of them are white, so they came with an agreement to say that if we leave this definition as land of the black, then the entire world will know that the ancient Egyptians were truly Negro. But I'm gonna tell you something that Carl Lepsius said himself. Who is Carl Lepsius? Carl Lepsius is the inventor of what we call today Egyptology. So he's a German. He's the first one who started studying the mummy of ancient Egypt and developed what we refer today as Egyptology, which is the study of Egypt. He came to a conclusion after so many studies he conducted through the mummy and all other artifacts. He came to a conclusion that Egyptians were indeed authentic black Africans or authentic Negroes. Yes, so I believe that any major civilization has a diversity of culture in it due to the influence of migration or other means. That it was not an exception for the ancient Egyptian. So since Egypt was a single source of inspiration, of great inspiration, a single source of great knowledge, because you pay respect, you pay homage where knowledge is. So Egypt was attracting a lot of people around the world. Does it make them all Authentic Egyptian? Of course not. Of course not. Because until this day, we still have authentic Egyptian who are black people. They are still living in that land, but they just don't show them into the movie or into the mainstream media, the television. They don't just show them to you, but they are still there. The black people of Egypt, you know. And he also said something that, oh, Egyptians didn't refer to themselves as black. Of course they didn't, because they were the only people around. Let me go back a little bit. I'm going to tell you something which is an evidence, which is a fact. The modern day European are 6,000 years old, when the modern day African are 300,000 years old. So when the world was going through the major civilization, Europeans were not there to begin with. When we're talking about the Nepta civilization, where we have the Sahara Desert today, it happened like 19,000 years ago. There was no European. And when the Sumerian civilization was going, like they say it was around 4,500 years BCE, there were no European around. And even when the ancient Egyptian went through the civilization, influenced by people who left the Nepta Playa, there was no European around. There was, as a matter of fact, they were still living in caves if they were around, you know, or they were still unevolved. They were still Neanderthal. And this is one of the subject I will develop one day, which is going to be titled, Did We All Come from Africa? This is a subject for other days. I'm going to develop it. So let's go back to what I was talking about. Every major civilization attracts all sorts of people, all kind of background, people from all kind of background. So it was not an exception for the Egyptians. So they attracted people who were envious later on, not in the beginning of their civilization, but when it was already in decline. The Persian invaded Egypt. The Hyksos invaded Egypt. I'm not sure about the date. I have to double check. But the Greek invaded Egypt, which marked a major change to the Egyptian civilization. During the 24th dynasty, they invaded Egypt in the year, that was in the 18th dynasty, I think, between 18 and 24th dynasty. In the year 332 BC, they invaded Egypt and they established themselves to becoming even the pharaohs and the queens as well, like Alexander, for example. He was one of the first European pharaoh to rule Egypt, you know. But if we go back in history, people like Herodotus, he has said, he has compared Egyptian with Ethiopian in terms of appearance. We know that Ethiopians are black people. And for me, for example, as I know history, I'm not even interested in defending how the Egyptian look like, because I know for a fact they were Negro, they were black people. Look at all the artifacts, look at the pyramid, look at the Sphinx, look at the statues. Why did Napoleon Bonaparte order his troop to shut the nose and lips of the statue of Egypt? Because he didn't want the world to know that those people were Negroes. Look at their lips, look at their nose. They had broader nose, thick lips, you know? So just like us today, they were not different from us. And if you see the drawing, the original drawing in the wall of Egypt, you're gonna see them with locks, with thick lips, broader nose, like us. But today, European, they use the 19th and the 20th century to claim that they were rehabilitating the walls, the pictures on the walls of Egypt, when in fact they were rewriting history. They were repainting it in a much lighter colors than it was before. And he also claimed that Cleopatra was Greek. Yes, Cleopatra's father was Greek. But why don't they tell you about her mother? Her mother was a Nubian. Cleopatra's mother was a Nubian. So Cleopatra was not black like me. He was not white as the Greek neither. She was not white as the Greek neither, because she was a mulatto. She was a colored. She was mulata, as they say in Portuguese. Her father was white. Her mother was black. That's why they don't say much about her mother, because they don't want the world to know that Cleopatra was not 100% Greek. She was mixed. And these people, they learn most of the science they know today from ancient Egypt, like medicine, for example. Hippocrates, I would say, learned medicine from Egypt, and his teacher was Imhotep, who is the true father of medicine. Hippocrates himself, during his lifetime, he rejected the idea of being called the father of the medicine. He said, oh, if I'm a father of medicine, how about my teacher? So he rejected it. But after his death, they rehabilitate that buffoonery and keep calling him the father of medicine, when himself during his lifetime, he didn't accept that. So we have to be careful, because they say, until the lion learn to speak and ride, all the glory of the hunting will go to the hunters. So the Europeans are the hunters today, and we are the lion. This is what I usually tell my brothers and sisters. We need to roar our own history today. It is time. Anybody from the African descendant, it doesn't matter where they are found, in the motherland or across the globe, who happen to know in depth the history, the ancient history, they need to roar it out. They need to roar it out. And I salute people like Sheikh Anta Diop, rest in power, John Henry Clark, W.E.B. Du Bois, Chancellor William, Runuko Rashidi, who have done so much in terms of history, of ancient history of Africa. And Sheikh Anta Diop is a source of inspiration of African history, because he has done so much. He was the one that debunked the English guy who was trying to rewrite the history of humanity originating from Africa by falsifying a skull, which was a solution of the mandible of a chimpanzee, and the crane or the skull of a modern European. Sheikh Anta Diop debunked it because he conducted a study on that skull and realized all this, and then came forward and said that he was a fraud. And Sheikh Anta Diop is the very same guy that was conducting the melanin content test on the mummy of Egypt to determine their race, because that's one thing you cannot change. A melanated person, even after death, the melanin is still alive. The melanin is still there. So Sheikh Anta Diop, instead of doing the DNA nonsense test, he was carrying out the melanin content test. And when he was indeed coming forward with the true information, the modern day Egyptian, who are the Arab and other European, were blocking his way from keep conducting the study on the mummy, the melanin content study on the mummy, because they knew that he was doing something correct. You know, because the modern day Egyptian have nothing to do with the original Egyptian that once ruled the world, that once created the civilization, that once built the pyramid. These modern day European are a result of conquest by the Persian, the Hyksos, the Greek, the Arab, and the immigration. I'm gonna ask you a question. Today in America, most of people, majority of them are white. They call themselves American, and we all agree with that. But are they really American? No. We know that the land we call today the United States belonged to the Indian, and the original Indian were not from Europe. They were from that very land we call today the United States. They are from the Americas. They are indigenous people of those land, and they were not white people. They were black people. As a matter of fact, the further back you travel, the blacker the world look. So today we all agree that all those Europeans are American, but their DNA is from Europe. It's exactly as the modern day Egyptian. Yes, we call them Egyptian today because they were born there, some of them. Their forefather came there and they gave them birth there. So they hold Egyptian nationality. Are they authentic Egyptian? Of course not. Are they genetically related to that land? Of course not. But they have that nationality. They are not our reference to the ancient Egyptians. If we view them as a reference, that's where we're gonna make a mistake. They are a consequence, they are a result of conquest and immigration. So we have to tell all these lies, that we have to point all these lies that those Europeans are coming forward to say. It is time we tell our own history. You know, look at what is happening today in Ukraine. I'm not trying to be a politician. I hate politics, but look what is happening today. Look how the mainstream media has owned the war in Ukraine. And all the coverage of the war in Ukraine gonna make you think that there is nothing else evil going around the world. You know? The reason why I didn't support the war in Ukraine, I mean, it is bad. Everybody we can agree that it is bad enough to kill a human being. But the reason why it disgusts me, and I'm not even supporting Ukraine, because in the beginning of the war, the journalists themselves, European, were coming forward to say, oh, these people who are dying today, they look like just like us. They look like them, like with blue eyes and blonde hair. And they shouldn't die according to them. And they were comparing, they said, oh, this is not like Syria. This is not like Iraq. This is not like Afghanistan. This is not like Africa. So for them, the European, it is okay for the African to die because they don't have blonde hairs and blue eyes. But it's not okay for the European with blonde hair and blue eyes to die. And I say, how? I mean, how does it make sense to them? And you can see racism even during war. And for the first time, I saluted the African who refused to interfere into this matter. As a matter of fact, it is a European war. It should be solved by European. Because Africa, at the moment we are talking today, people are dying. For example, in the Congo today, in Ethiopia today. And who are behind all this? The very people who are defending the Ukraine war. The very same people who are obliging us to defend, to side with the Ukraine. You know? Since 1997 to these days, in the Congo, at least 6 million people have lost their life. Are you listening to it into the media? Of course not. Because for them, they have set up their mind to believe that it is okay for black people, it is okay for African to die, but it's not okay for the European to die. It is not okay for anybody to die. But when you start making it a race card, that's when we say no, enough is enough. We are not siding the Ukraine. It's their war. They have to solve it themselves. You know. And I also applaud the president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, who refused the Ukrainian president to hold a speech in their parliament, because that's not how we want. That's not how it should work. Why are they trying to force African to side Ukraine? I would love to see African to be neutral about this, because it's not our problem. This is the European problem, and it should be solved by the European. You know. So, thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you like this video, hit the like button, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel to boost me up, and then share this video to as much African as possible, so we are all aware of what's going on today. Thank you very much, and be safe.